Alright, let's welcome our first guest. Nischal Maheshwari of Edelweiss Financial Services now joins in for some market talk from the sidelines of their infrastructure conference. Nischal, hi, morning. Good to have you on the show. You join us for your conference on a day when stocks like Reliance and some of the other capital goods infrastructure stocks are doing well. So let me ask you that itself. Do you think some of these stocks have run ahead of themselves, ahead of the potential election outcome, or do you still see value in some of these names?
Nikunj, I think the interesting part is that there is a lot of hope basically as we are meeting more and more companies. I think the outlook seems to be getting positive. Now what I see here is basically in case of 15 and 16, if the same things continue basically, then the number upgrades would be very, very significant for these companies. So really, we really do not know whether these stocks have really run ahead of their potential. Because if you look at from the last 5-year highs basically of these stocks, they are 1/4, 1/3 or 1/10 of their high prices. So there is a huge potential if the economy goes back onto their normal track.
Okay. Nischal, hi. Before we get talking more about the conference, I just wanted your opinion on Wipro, which is down 5%.
Sonia, I have not been tracking because I'm here in the morning for the conference, so I really am not tracking what's really happened on the Wipro side. But what I understand was there was a bit of disappointment as far as the numbers on Wipro was concerned on the last Thursday results.
Okay, well, let's just talk about the internals of the market a bit, because the advanced decline ratio is quite interesting at this point in time, about 3:1. The Nifty is at 6,800 mark. The mid-cap index is up about close to 1%, so that's looking quite good. Just wanted to point out what's been happening in the pharma space. Shasun Pharma is locked on circuit. Biocon is actually up 10% right now. That really has been the big stock. It's an FNO stock. Ekta, anything in particular about Biocon? That stock is up 10%.
Well, Anuj, there are multiple rumors which are flying around about Biocon, but there is a possibility that even, one of their subsidiaries, which is Syngene, might look at some amount of form of fundraising. So, for example, they could go possibly into a listing, which the management had explicitly spoken to us about, saying that post-election, that's what they will evaluate. But there is a possibility that there could be some amount of private equity placement also in the likes of Syngene, but it is all speculation at this point in time. We'll wait by. Numbers are on Thursday, so we'll get more clarity from the management themselves. The stock, however, is running away up around 11%. Nischal, come in on this. What is your view on the entire pharma space? We've got multiple stocks which are running for news-based reasons. How interested are you within the pharmaceutical space?
So pharma, we have a neutral stance on the pharma space, given that if a positive outlook on the coming election comes through and NDA forms a government, basically I believe that the rupee should be appreciating from here, and that wouldn't be very, very positive for the pharma space. Secondly, I think the valuations are also a bit of challenge. So we have brought down our overweight position to a neutral position now. But within that, I think there are a lot of stocks which we like. The recent Sun Pharma Ranbaxy deal has been quite an outflyer actually, and that is a stock basically on a 1 to 2 year horizon we have been recommending to our clients. Similarly, Dr. Reddy's, Ipca, these are some of the stocks basically which we like in the space.
Okay, Nischal, what about Reliance? How are you positioned on that stock? Because the numbers look quite okay. I mean, operationally look good, but the stock has been quite muted. Of course, it's rallied quite a bit ahead of the numbers.
I think numbers have been quite good basically for Reliance, especially on all fronts, whether it was the margins on the GRMs or on the petrochemical space. So I think plus also the revenues from its US subsidiaries basically, I think that has also been very, very good. So I think overall the numbers look pretty good for Reliance. As you say, I think the stock had run ahead of in expectation basically, and I think some amount of profit taking must be happening. But we have a long-term buy on the stock, and we have been positive from 725 rupees on Reliance, and we believe that the next 2 to 3 years is going to be very exciting for Reliance.
Okay, let's focus on your conference now, Nischal. It is the Infra Day conference which is taking place at the Palladium Hotel. Can you just give us a sense in terms of what the speakers are talking about? What are the key points with regards to the conference which most of the investors are interested in, and are they interested in actually investing a large sum of money within the infra space or infra stocks at this point in time?
It's been quite interesting, Sonia, that the kind of interest we've seen on the infrastructure day. We were also thinking that it's more of a hope rally which is happening, but the kind of response both from the company side as well as the investor side has been quite amazing. So we have got around 17 to 18 corporates who have come here. We have got around 6-7 infrastructure specialist industry experts who are here, and we got more than 150 clients here actually. And in the next, in this one day, basically we are doing almost close to 1,000 meetings between various constituents of the conference. And the interesting 2 or 3 things which people are saying is that the industry experts believe that there is definitely a very strong hope which is coming back, especially on the asset sale side. There are a lot of funds, especially the long only pension funds across the world, whether it's the Canadian pension fund or the Norwegian pension fund, basically, which have been looking into these assets very strongly, and they continue to believe that more asset sale will definitely happen, because Indian assets are pretty cheap as compared across the world. So I think that is one thing basically which is giving hope to the whole industry, that they will get more money coming through in this sector. Most of the companies seem to be on an optimistic mode. Basically, they are seeing good order books coming through. The problem still continues to remain is basically that the working capital cycles are still long and the money release is not as strong. So I believe they are hopeful that once the election passes through, the government expenditure will once again start off, and this easing of the working capital cycle will happen. That will, one, help the money movement happening in the sector, and secondly improve the margin also for these corporates.
Okay, let's talk about a couple of other sectors and stocks then, Nischal. What's your call on stocks like Maruti? Again, at new lifetime high for that one. Just ignoring all the bad news or perceived bad news. How would you be positioned on Maruti and even Tata Motors?
I think both these sectors looks to be both these stocks are on a positive outlook. Both in terms of Maruti as well as the Tata Motor. Maruti, after some recent problems from the side of management, basically I think it got sorted out under the pressure from shareholders, and I think that's why the stock has been performing very well. Going ahead, we continue to believe that both Tata Motor and Maruti are strong infrastructure play, and recovery in the economy, interest rate cuts. I think these are all things basically which is going to happen over a period of time, but I think these are the 2 stocks which will gain substantially from these measures. So I think we are positive on both of them, and we have a buy on both these stocks.
Okay, Nischal, before we let you go, just one last question with regards to the conference. Are most of the investors or companies then talking about a formidable turnaround come FY15?
They are hopeful, but people are keeping their fingers crossed. Basically, they are hoping that the second half is where they are going to see a good amount of turnaround. There is a possibility of number upgrades in FY15 itself.
Okay. And much more asset monetization.
That's right.
Okay. All right, Nischal. Thanks very much for joining in. So that's Nischal Maheshwari of Edelweiss talking about their conference which takes place, which is an infra day which is taking place at this point in time. For the Nifty, we're still just up around 0.3%. So we'll take a break at this point in time. Joining us next is Nitin Johri, the CFO of Bhushan Steel.